the Argent Financial in Ruston, Louisiana. Soccer will open their conference schedule on the road Thursday at UAB. Volleyball is on the road at the Blue Jay Classic in Omaha, Nebraska. They've got 3 matches in 3 days, Northern Iowa on Friday, and number 18 Creighton on Saturday, and number 4 Louisville on Sunday. Cross country opens their season in Mass. They had a few people compete previously, but this will be their full season opener. It's the Rice Invitational on Friday. And men's tennis is going to open their season by splitting the squad. Part of the squad will be at the Blue-Gray College Tennis Classic in Alabama, and the remainder of the squad will be at the Waco Fall Kickoff. So that's our schedule for this week, other than the football game. And we'll get Coach up here in a minute. Any questions? Start recording.
Recording in progress.
Now don't say anything, it'll be on the record.
Finish up with me. Got a little bit.
I already warmed them up. We're ready.
You good? Okay. So I'll just step right here. How's everybody today?
Good.
All right. Good. Welcome back to campus for those that came off. So I'll just open it right up to questions as we head into our next game week, and questions about Houston.
We'll start with Houston after having a chance to sit back and watch the film. Biggest things that stood out for you from that game?
Well, I'm disappointed, that we didn't make a few more plays, right? I'm disappointed on maybe how that thing finished, right? Certainly. But if you really reflect on the whole body of work there, it's 21-9 with 5 minutes to go in the game, right? We're full control of the game up until 50 seconds to go in the half, right? And, people talk about the middle 8 a lot, right? The end of the second quarter and start of the second half. And it got away from us right there. And if you're playing a Big 12 opponent, you can't allow that to happen, right? And, there's a handful of plays that end up making a difference. And, all those went against us. Or giving Houston credit, Houston made a couple of those plays. And so, instead of going in the half, which I thought we had the opportunity to probably go in the half 6 6-0, maybe 10-0. Instead, we go down, we go in the half down 7-3, and they have all the momentum. And I think when you're playing a Power Four team, right, and you're in year one of a rebuild, then you just got to be cleaner than that against that opponent. And we just weren't clean enough in that moment. And then once that momentum shifted, right, it's really hard to get back against that quality of a team, right? That shifted a little bit against us in Louisiana, right, and we recovered and finished. It did not. We could not recover in that game against that opponent once that momentum has shifted and got away from us.
And then you talked about them coming out defensively in a front that y'all weren't expecting. What homework does that give y'all after the fact when a team does that and kind of makes it tough on you guys?
Yeah, well, I think you learn a lot, and it helps you teach, your roster now, and it's they came out and it was an odd front, right? We prepped for an even all week, and some weeks it's a guessing game, right? Because our uniqueness of who we are, but it's also is what's going to give us a chance, right? Louisiana, right? Not a ton of points out there, but we controlled the clock for most of the game, right? The offense controlled the tempo of the game, and so this is going to be a learning curve for the roster. It's going to be a learning curve for the program, right? That our guys are going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Meaning, we may get it just right. Louisiana, we got it just right. We had prepped for a defensive look. We thought how they were built, how they might want to defend us, and we got it just right. And it looked like that early on. Houston, we did not, right? Because we had no film. Their first opponent was a true spread. Nothing looks like us. And so then we're making those adjustments. And to our guys' credit, our second quarter wasn't bad. We went right down the field. I think we should have flirted with a touchdown. Instead, we got a field goal because we had a penalty that set us back on 3rd and 5, right? So you're almost in 4-down territory. And really, I thought the play should have been blown dead, right? We had two guys in motion. Play should have been blown dead. It should have been 3rd and 10. Instead, they let the play go. Now you got a busted play. Now they tackle us for a 6-yard loss. They decline the penalty. Now it's 4th and 11, right? So there's one of the plays I'm talking about. But I thought we adjusted well in the second half of the offense. And then, the next drive we go down, we move the football again, get stopped on 4th down, right? We have a mental bust. And unfortunately with the young offense, and that's what we are, incredibly young offense, those show up against better opponents probably a little more often than you'd like. And so, I think the learning curve for the offense will be the flexibility to adapt as the game changes and people make adjustments, whether that's coming into the game or at halftime. And that's easier said than done, but that's, getting some live games now, getting this experience is going to be really impactful for us.
Morris and Kane had career high tackles. You speak to their effort, just the defense, even the first 2 weeks, the performance and consistency of the defense.
Yeah, well, they've done exactly what I thought they were capable of doing, right? Ty, everybody knows how I feel about the quality of football player he is, but the quality of person he is and how he's leading our program. And, early on in camp, I went and met with, I sit in on every meetings. Well, not everyone, but I'm in defensive meetings, I'm in offensive meetings, and I challenged the defense during one of the meetings that, hey, you will be the leader of this team as a unit as we, begin to chase a better future. And mainly because of the age and the depth and the returners on that side. And they've been exactly that, right? And Saturday, I thought we played lights out there in the first half. But that middle eight's impactful, right? We gave up a home run right at the end of the half. They come out and put a long drive together to start the half, right? So, when I reflect on the game, that middle half is real for everybody in the program. Right, that's not just an offensive thing. That's not a special team thing or defense thing. I think we all have to reflect, and as a head coach, I have to reflect on all units there, right there in that middle. The end of the first half, the start of the second half is where we lost that football game.
That's it, Coach. As you look forward to this week versus Prairie View, what type of a focus do you have going into that game?
Oh, I think our guys, they'll be incredibly focused. They better. Prairie View has plenty of talent. right? They got a lot of guys that played at our level that now are, transferred out of wherever they're from. And, we're coming off a week where we're disappointed. And so we need to refocus ourselves. And, we need to be at our best Saturday. And that will be the challenge for our guys.
Can you tell us about Tremaine Jackson, what you know about him, and what do you expect from Prairie View?
Well, Coach Jackson's been successful where he's been, right? And his career is not a whole lot different from mine. He's grown up being a head coach at different levels, having success at every level along the way. He's a passionate guy. He's intense, and his kids play incredibly hard for him. And that's what shows up on film, and that's what we're expecting here on Saturday night.
In the past, they've spread it out a lot. Is it a lot of that, or can you gain a lot in the first 2 games?
You can, you can see some. They're going to be, your typical collegiate offense, right? They're going to employ some RPO. They're going to, I do think they want to run the football probably. I don't know really what they did in the past because I've been focused on what his programs are going to look like since he's gotten here. But I do think they'll try to establish the run probably a little more frequently than they had in the past. And I think that will be important to his programs as he builds his program down there.
And then when you look at them on the defensive side of the ball, what stands out to you there?
I think they have really good size up front, right? To be honest, they'll be one of the biggest fronts we've seen so far, in our first 2 weeks. I think they run well in their back half. Okay. And they're not a whole lot different from us, where everything they're doing right now is new, right? New offensive scheme, new defensive scheme. And they're building confidence through that, every week. And how does that look? And so, I think we probably will have to be prepared for a couple different things this week out of their defense. I think they can be multiple. And I also think, with them, that they have nothing to lose coming here, so we'll probably see a little bit, of everything in the kitchen sink when we come to what they throw at us with their defense.
All right, we'll go to questions from Zoom. Richard, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good. Good to hear from you.
Okay, yeah, Coach. 2 games in, what are the Owls? What are they doing best that you like so far from your team? And then also, what do you think you guys have to kind of work on? Yeah,
good question. I love the way the effort we're playing with. I love the physicality we're playing with, right? In all phases, I think we're playing a really physical brand of football, and I think in all 3 phases that shows up, and I think that's really given us a shot to be successful. And so I love that part. I think the thing we've got to improve on our consistency, right? There's some mental lapses that show up throughout a game. Some of that is understanding the new scheme, and it just happens. And some of that's just maybe fatigue setting in a long drive and not being focused enough. And so that's what I'm looking for, is that we now grow and head into week 3. We need to be more consistent, right? And I think that's holistically throughout the program. But I do love the way we're playing. We're playing a very physical brand of football, and we tell our guys all the time, I think the most physical team wins football games, and I think they've bought into that, and that shows up on film.
Thank you, Coach.
Steve, you have a question?
Hi, Coach. I understand that running is the kind of like the bread and butter of this offense, but what would you like to see out of this passing game going forward?
Well, we got to establish some confidence in it first, and that starts with me. But it's a program that graduated, I think, 8 of its top 9 pass receivers last year. If you look at the tight end room, the receiver room, and the running back room, and so. A lot of new guys breaking in for that phase of the game, and breaking in new quarterbacks. And so, that is probably going to take some time, but I do want to see some improvement there, right? And I think part of that is getting confidence to throw the ball downfield more. We have to do that. We have to take some shots downfield, and have some confidence in our guys making some plays. And that's what I'm looking for. we're completing the simple stuff and we're getting it out quick to our athletes, which I think is really important. I think you saw an emphasis on that last week, some quick hitting screens and, that's kind of an extension of run game, if you're asking me, getting the ball to guys like Aaron and Drayden in space. And I think our guys grew from week 1 to 2, and we did a much better job of that. And so the next phase of that is, we got to get some downfield threats going and find out who our playmakers are downfield.
Anything else for Coach? Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Aaron, why don't you come up first?
All right, Aaron, let's start kind of big picture through 2 weeks. What have been your perspective on how the offense is flowing and what y'all want to do to take it to the next level?
Kind of like just owning on what Coach just said. Obviously, our main focus is running the ball. So establishing that, I feel like will open up the pass game. Ultimately, feel like we run the ball well, they're going to crowd the box and ultimately open up the passing lanes and whatnot. So I feel like the offense is on a good step, though. I'm not really worried or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? It's only week 2. I mean, as long as we keep coming out, practicing hard, doing what we need to do, everybody executing, they want 11th, I feel like we'll be fine.
And then Coach just talked about the growth that y'all had from week 1 to week 2 and going in this week. What have you seen from your room in the slots, how they've progressed and gotten better?
Yeah, I feel like everybody in our slot room that plays and stuff is capable of making a lot of plays, regardless whether it's running the ball, catching and passing, and stuff like that. I have no doubt in my mind that we're a more than talented team to be able to make plays and contribute to the team in whatever fashion it is. So, yeah.
No, it's only 2 games, but what's it like adjusting to a new system for you, if it is that different?
I wouldn't say it's really much adjusting. I feel like in this system, you just got to own in on the details a lot more. But at the end of the day, football is football. So, I mean, you either going to adjust and adapt or you're not.
Quick question about Prairie View. What you know about them? Have you prepared for them? What do you think?
I mean, regardless, I think they're a good football team. We're not going to schedule a team that we feel like just gonna run them over. I feel like Prairie View's a good team. It's gonna be a challenge for us, but I feel like this week's about establishing what we do, our bread and butter, kind of owning in and taking a step back and really realizing like what our jobs are and kind of just owning in on our offense and our identity this week.
You guys talk about what you understand, what you don't understand in the offense. Are you actually able to execute that during practice? Any feelings about your confidence and total confidence in your offense?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always confident in our offense. I feel like just because of last week, I don't feel like that's wavered in any bit. I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, as long as Coach Abell calling the plays, we gonna have a shot. So.
You discuss your unique, I guess it happens at other staffs, but having your brother so close to you and that tie with Coach Abell.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great, honestly. I've known Coach Abell for a while now, 7 or 8 years now. So being able to, have my brother as well to coach me and kind of give me details and experiences he had to go through while playing in this offense, stuff like that, just helps more. But it's been great, honestly.
Any questions from Zoom? All right. Thank you, Aaron.
All right.
Maury.
All right, through 2 weeks, kind of your big picture thought on how the defense is kind of gelling together.
I think we're moving at a great pace. You kind of want to go up this mountain, kind of climb up slowly and peak at the right time. But I think each week we've gotten better and we've corrected things we need to correct from the week before, and it's moving in a great way, I think. So.
And then particularly in that first half last week against Houston, it felt like every other play, you or somebody else in the secondary was breaking up the pass. What's it like being on the field when it feels like the other quarterback can't get anything to fall?
When you have a defense that's just able to move as one and can make plays on the ball as a collective group, and it's always a great feeling, especially when it's on the back end. You know, we're really a brotherhood with the safeties and the corners, and being able with the linebackers and the D line. I think just playing great Rice defense and just continue to build the culture that we want to build within this defense.
What would you say Coach Modkins has helped you with the most? A few things.
I think he's a great teacher, especially in the areas I needed to improve on in terms of just complete DB play with run, pass, and all those aspects. I think, especially in my off coverage, he's been a great teacher in terms of just helping me perfect my technique and be the best DB I can be.
Talk about that cornerback room. You guys got a lot of talent in there. And,
Yeah.
you guys, it looks like you guys really, really play well together on the field.
Yeah, we have a lot of depth, and that's a testament, you know, to Coach Abell keeping the right guys here and bringing the right guys in. And, you know, especially in the safety room, we have a lot of guys with a lot of experience from the previous years, especially here at Rice. And so just with that added experience and the tutelage from Coach Modkins and Coach
What's your study like? Sorry, phone's going off. What's your study like in regards to prepping for, you know, the team coming in, next team coming in, opposition coming in?
Yeah, most of the times it starts with just watching the previous game they played just recently on Saturday to see how they play. And then throughout the week, I'll try to break it down by Coach Mod does a great job of just giving us different looks to look at in terms of formations and passes by those formations. And then somewhere middle throughout the week, he encourages us to try to get another game in just to see how the OC is calling their plays and how the flow of the game is moving and how they're moving on the first series and what player they play. Each series they start off with what player they're starting out with, whether it be a shot play or a run play or just a simple short pass play. I mean, then you go on and you kind of refine it. You watch the receivers. I watch the receivers a little bit just to figure out their tendencies on press versus off, when they are running a route, when they're not running a route, blocking, and things of that nature. So, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, I know it's only 2 games with Prairie View A&M. You glean anything from their offense or what stands out as a strength or two?
I mean, it's a good football team. Football is a game where it's hard to win. And so just they have a lot of good athletes over there and a quarterback that likes to move, and that's always hard on a DB, especially when a quarterback can extend plays and you're covering for more than 4 seconds. But it'll be a great test to see where we are as a team, especially as a defense as well. So, yeah.
And then 2 games in, you've already played 2 quarterbacks that stylistically were pretty different. What do you had the chance to look at? Prairie View, a guy that might be a bit more mobile than you faced so far.
Yeah, he is a little bit. I would say he's a little bit more of a runner than the 2 quarterbacks we faced before. Even though they're both teams that we've played have implemented some type of QB run. I think he's had a better chance to make you miss, and he has a good arm as well. So it's going to be. We're going to have to be on our P's and Q's as always just to make sure that we can do the things that we need to do to succeed.
Anything from anybody on Zoom? All right, thank you, Mari.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on Saturday.